From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In the NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. People who come to Estes Park marvel at the sights they see. Long's Peak on the horizon, the Stanley Hotel above town, herds of elk just about everywhere. And in the heart of downtown, a small crowd often gathers to watch the hypnotic movements of a mechanical taffy puller in the window of the Taffy Shop. And now more people are checking out the Taffy Shop. It was recently named Best Candy Shop in the Country by USA Today. So we reached out to Mark Igel, the man behind the sweet, stretchy treats, to learn more about what they do and why tradition is so important. Mark, welcome to In the NoCo.
Thanks, Erin.
Now, you bought the Taffy Shop in 2014. You are only the second family to run the place in the 89 years it's been open. What made you want to run a taffy store? I mean, was there a moment you thought, like, this is what I want to do with my life?
I think maybe things lined up. In high school, I went to high school in Evergreen, Colorado. There was a taffy store downtown, and I worked there. The man who owned the store was the PE teacher. Mr. Henley handpicked students who work in his store. So it was completely unrelated to this store. But I worked in a taffy shop in high school. So in Estes Park for a couple of decades, someone told me, I think Mrs. Slack is ready to sell the taffy shop. So I sent her a letter, and she got the letter in the mail because she didn't do email and she wasn't much for phone calls. And 3 months later, we owned the taffy shop, and it was such a privilege. Maybe it was because of our family. Maybe it was because the work that we'd done in town. But Mrs. Slack had turned down offers for decades to buy the store. And even just yesterday, a man who owns one of the bars in town said, I tried to get the Slacks to sell me that store for years. He said, you don't know what you've got. You're so lucky to have the taffy shop. And this is just yesterday. So
Wow.
The story just grows every day here. And I feel privileged to have this opportunity to be the custodian of this little business.
Mark, back before you became the owner, what do you remember about your first visit to the store as a customer?
That's funny because my first impression was, how can there be a saltwater taffy shop in a Colorado mountain town? I thought it was so peculiar. So it just seems so out of place. And until you know what saltwater taffy really is, and that we can have the best saltwater taffy in the country in Colorado, it's the recipe and the temperature. And saltwater taffy, it's not salt or water. It's not the ocean. It's the way that you make the candy.
Mark, could you describe the taste of really good saltwater taffy?
So I think really good saltwater taffy has a texture that's different than others. I may or may not be describing our taffy, but it doesn't stick to your teeth. It's soft and easy to eat. Really good saltwater taffy has got a delightful light texture. The puller has aerated it, so it's kind of like a marshmallow, only better. A lady once said, that's like a little taste of heaven in your mouth. So I quote her on that sometimes, but it's a soft, very rich flavor, easy to eat, delight to have this candy.
Well, this is all starting to add up then here, because on June 19th, you won this award for being the best candy store in the U.S. Mark, tell me about when you learned about the nomination a few weeks ago.
I got an email, and it was from the USA Today Top 10, something or the other. You've been nominated. You're in the running. You're in the contest. And there were 20 other emails that said, buy this, do this, we'll make you rich, or, you don't trust any email anymore.
Right.
Well, I didn't pay it enough attention until a few days or a week later, a lady came in the store and said, yeah, I read about you in the USA Today Top 10 list and I voted for you. And that was the moment my jaw hit the counter, and I went back to the office and I looked up that email. And I did log in and I did send them a picture of the store. And I guess then we were officially in the running.
No, many of the people who voted for the Taffy Shop also submitted stories about it, like what the store has meant to them. What kind of memories did people share?
People look back at this store, I think, and they remember a time. It's the little old lady who comes in with her family and they're taking pictures or, they're excited to be here. And you can see that it's something important. And then she tells a story of watching the taffy puller in the window when she was 3 or 5 or 10 or whatever. And I remember one lady said, the streets were dirt, honey, when she was telling me how long ago it had been. And
Whoa.
another person said, we used to turn the horses loose in the street and they would go back down Elkhorn Avenue to the stables at the end of the day. So it goes way back.
Yeah.
And the thing that's most impressive about the stories are that people who have visited here as a tradition with their family created memories that you don't get from just buying knickknacks or a T-shirt or a one thing or another, but it's such a consistent single item store
Mhm.
that people come in expecting what they remember. And when we are able to deliver that memory or that simplicity, they connect to it.
Mom and pop stores like yours are becoming increasingly rare. What's your strategy for making sure the Taffy Shop is still winning awards 89 years from now?
I think we have to keep it simple and we have to stay focused on doing something well and not trying to do too much. So if you know me well, you will be laughing because I have my fingers in a lot of things and I stay busy. It's hard for me to keep the focus of the Taffy Shop on taffy. And I think that the future may be getting back to simple and getting back to something without all of the distractions. The world is, I'm competing with the taffy puller in the window. I'm competing with kids who have a device that can go anywhere in the world in their hand. And
Yeah.
it's not like that little old lady 80 years ago at 3 when she was watching the taffy puller because it was the most amazing thing she'd ever seen. Now you can see the most amazing thing in your pocket, and it's not good.
Mm.
It's not good that it's so complicated and it's the world at your fingertips. So I think that the key to the Taffy Shop's success will be not to change. So I
Yeah.
think we're going to stick with simple, and I think we're going to stick with what the people before us and the Slack family created.
Mhm.
The key to success was doing one thing well. And I think that's what makes the Taffy Shop a success.
Mark, thank you so much for coming on the show. This is great to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you. Thanks, Aaron.
Mark Igel owns the Taffy Shop in Estes Park. By the way, Mark mentioned their original taffy recipe is top secret. He keeps it in a safe and makes employees promise never to share it. However, Mark is happy to show off his famous mechanical taffy puller to anyone. You can find a live video feed of the taffy puller doing its thing in our show notes or at kunc.org. That's it for us today on In the Know Co. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thanks for listening.